He doubted her, but the maid's simple faith returned his daughter's miracle. The first rays of sunlight filtered through the towering windows of the mansion, casting long golden shadows across the marble floors. Silence hung in the air, almost too heavy, as if the walls themselves remembered every heartbreak and every betrayal that had passed through this home. Mr. Noah stood by the grand staircase, hands resting on the polished railing, staring blankly at the emptiness around him. The quiet should have been comforting, but instead, it pressed against his chest like a weight he could not lift. His mind wandered to the past, the laughter of his daughters before the accident, the warmth of his wife's smile, and the moment everything changed. That day on the boat had not just taken his wife from him, it had stolen a piece of his soul. Lily and Leia, his precious twins, had been left fragile and broken, dependent on wheelchairs and therapy that never seemed to bring results. Could life ever be fair again? He wondered silently. Every time he had trusted someone before, he had been disappointed. Some had lied, some had stolen, and some had treated his daughters like burdens instead of blessings. That pattern of betrayal had carved deep lines into his heart, leaving him cautious, wary, almost cold. Even hiring a new caregiver that morning had been an exercise in doubt rather than hope. I can't let anyone close. Not again, he thought, tightening his grip on the railing. As he walked slowly through the grand hallway, he noticed the little signs of the life that once was: photographs of smiling faces, toys neatly arranged but untouched, and a small chair that seemed to wait patiently for tiny feet that might never walk again. The mansion was beautiful, perfect to the outside world, but inside, it was heavy with the ghosts of disappointment. The air felt thick, and each step he took echoed with memories of fear and loss.
He paused by the large window overlooking the gardens, watching the morning light spill over the manicured lawns. The world outside seemed alive, vibrant, and full of promise. Yet, inside him, there was only caution, suspicion, a protective wall built from years of pain. He rubbed his temples and whispered under his breath, "Why does hope always feel so fragile here?" But even in the quiet shadow of his doubt, a small, almost imperceptible stir of something else began to rise, a whisper of possibility, fragile and fleeting. Perhaps this morning would not be like the others. Perhaps, just perhaps, something beyond the weight of his fear could reach him. He shook his head, trying to push the thought away. Don't let yourself imagine. Don't set yourself up for disappointment again. Yet, as he turned back toward the staircase, he felt the mansion shift in its silence. The air seemed to hold its breath, waiting for something. He did not yet know what, to break through the years of sorrow, doubt, and guarded heart. The morning sun poured through the tall windows as Amara stepped hesitantly into the mansion. She carried herself with quiet confidence, her hands folded neatly, yet every movement seemed measured, careful, aware of the weight of the eyes watching her. Mr. Noah stood just inside the doorway, arms crossed, his jaw tight. He watched her with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism, the faint shadow of his doubt pressing against him like a second skin. He had interviewed dozens of caregivers before her, and each time his trust had been broken. Some had taken more than money. Some had taken pieces of his peace, small fragments of joy that could never be replaced. Can I really let someone new into this house? He asked himself, almost aloud, but the question lingered in the silence, unanswered. He shook his head subtly, as if to remind himself that hope had no place here, only caution. Amara began to move through the house, her steps soft on the marble, arranging cushions, dusting shelves, and checking on the twins in their wheelchairs. Mr. Noah followed at a distance, noting every action with hawk-like attention. Every glance, every smile, every careful gesture seemed to him suspicious. She seems normal, but normal isn't enough anymore, he thought, a pang of old disappointment tightening in his chest. As she bent down to adjust a blanket over Lily, her movements gentle, precise, Noah felt an unfamiliar flicker in his chest. It was not hope, he refused to call it that, but a tiny questioning, a soft crack in the wall of doubt he had built. He remembered the countless times someone had promised care and delivered betrayal. And yet, something about Amara's quiet demeanor seemed different. He tried to dismiss it, focusing instead on monitoring her every step. Amara hummed softly under her breath as she worked, a simple tune that seemed innocent but carried a calm energy. She didn't notice Noah's stare, didn't notice the heavy atmosphere of suspicion hanging over the room. She was present, fully in the moment, as if the house itself had asked for care, and she had simply listened. Noah's mind raced, a mixture of fear and reluctant curiosity. What if I am wrong again? He wondered. What if this is just another disappointment waiting to happen? The thought gnawed at him, yet he couldn't turn away. He continued to observe, the lines of worry deepening on his face, his chest tight with years of guarded mistrust. Minutes stretched, measured not by the clock but by the tension in the air. Amara moved naturally, kindly, her attention entirely on the twins, her voice soft as she spoke to them, offering words of comfort and gentle smiles. Noah felt a strange sensation, a spark of something he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. Maybe, just maybe, this new presence might not betray him. The office was quiet, save for the soft hum of the security monitors lining the wall. Mr. Noah sat alone, the cancelled meeting still, heavy in his mind, and a sense of routine suspicion guiding his every movement. He had learned long ago that in this house, vigilance was survival. His fingers hovered over the control panel, expecting to see the familiar betrayals, the careless theft, the deceit, the broken trust he had grown accustomed to. But what he saw on the screen stopped him cold. There, framed in the grainy light of the hallway camera, were two tiny figures, not sitting in their wheelchairs as they always had. Lily and Leia, his precious twins, wobbled uncertainly on their small legs, trembling with every step but standing nonetheless. Mr. Noah's heart thumped violently in his chest, a mixture of disbelief and awe locking his breath in place. This can't be real. Can it? He whispered, leaning closer, eyes wide, desperate to see clearly. The twins were moving slowly, each step painstakingly careful, each tiny foot pressing against the polished floor like it carried the weight of a miracle. Their faces were tight with concentration, their hands reaching out instinctively toward Amara, who knelt a few feet away, arms open in quiet encouragement. She did not notice the cameras, her attention fully absorbed in the girl's struggle and triumph. Noah's chest tightened, tears threatening to spill, but his mind raced faster than his emotions could catch up. He had spent years trying everything, specialists, therapy, millions of dollars, but never this. Never had he imagined that the impossible could appear on a security monitor one ordinary afternoon. How could this happen? He thought, disbelief warring with hope, his fingers trembling as they hovered over the keyboard. As he watched, the twins' steps grew steadier, their little giggles breaking the tense quiet of the room even through the monitor. Amara whispered softly to them, words of encouragement, a gentle hymn barely audible. The sound seemed to give them strength, grounding them as they moved forward. Noah's eyes filled with tears, his mind spinning between the trauma of the past and the miracle unfolding before him. For a moment, time itself seemed to pause. The mansion, usually heavy with silence and suspicion, felt alive in a way he had not felt in years. Each step the girls took felt like a heartbeat, each wobble a declaration that hope had not abandoned this house. Noah's hands shook as he reached for the door, the sight on the screen more powerful than any word or explanation could ever be. And in that suspended moment, he understood something profound. Miracles are often quiet, unseen, and unexpected. Sometimes, they arrive not with grandeur, but with trembling steps and soft voices of faith. Amara knelt in the center of the living room, arms stretched wide, her eyes glistening with quiet prayer. The morning light spilled across the floor, illuminating the tiny forms of Lily and Leia as they began to rise, tentative and trembling, from their wheelchairs. Each movement was slow, deliberate, and weighted with effort, yet filled with a grace that seemed almost otherworldly. Mr. Noah stood frozen in the doorway, unable to tear his eyes away, his heart caught between fear and disbelief. Is this really happening? He whispered to himself, a shiver running down his spine. He had been through so much. Therapies, specialists, endless days of hope turned to disappointment. But nothing had prepared him for this. The girls, his daughters, were taking steps. Real steps. Their tiny legs wobbled like saplings in the wind, but they moved forward, toward Amara, toward something greater than the confines of their previous limitations. Amara's voice was soft, barely audible, a prayer woven into every syllable. "Good job, my angels. One more step. You can do it." She did not notice the security camera hidden in the corner, nor the disbelief etched into the face of the man who had watched every stranger fail him. She only saw the miracle unfolding before her. She whispered thanks to God for every effort, every small victory, for the courage of these two little souls who had never given up. Lily's tiny foot pressed against the floor with a trembling certainty, and Leia followed, laughing softly at her own accomplishment. Each step seemed to echo in the grand, silent mansion, a rhythm of hope that filled the spaces once heavy with sorrow. Mr. Noah's hands began to shake, a trembling acknowledgement that what he had been told was impossible was now happening right in front of him. Could faith really carry this far? He thought, a mix of awe and disbelief filling his chest. The girls wobbled closer, reaching the final few feet, and Amara opened her arms wider, welcoming them, encouraging them. Their laughter mixed with her whispered prayers, a harmony that seemed to lift the weight of past betrayals from the walls of the house. Noah felt tears sting his eyes, tears he had not allowed himself to shed in years. He wanted to call out, to run forward, to witness the miracle fully. But his body was rooted to the spot, overwhelmed by the power of what he was seeing. Every step, every small, determined movement of the twins was a declaration that life could surprise, that miracles could arrive quietly, without warning, and that love, faithful, patient love, could move where fear and doubt could not. The room felt sacred, suspended in a moment that would change everything. Noah's legs moved before his mind could catch up. He rushed down the hallway, heart pounding, chest tight with disbelief and hope, toward the living room where the miracle was unfolding. The soft echoes of tiny footsteps reached him first, and then he saw them, Lily and Leia, his daughters, standing upright and moving steadily toward Amara. His knees buckled, and he fell to the floor, the weight of years of fear, grief, and doubt crashing down all at once. How can this be real? He thought, his voice caught in his throat. Tears streamed freely down his face as he stared at the tiny figures before him, each step of the twins a testament to something beyond what medicine and money could accomplish. The room felt suspended in time, a sacred pause where disbelief met awe and sorrow dissolved into hope. Amara, still kneeling, looked up at him, her own eyes brimming with emotion. "Sir," she said softly, "I was just cleaning. I didn't do anything special." She paused, trying to find words to explain the unexplainable, the divine thread that seemed to guide these steps. "I was humming a song, a worship song my mother used to sing when things felt impossible. I didn't even realize I was singing loudly." Noah shook his head, speechless, unable to comprehend how such a simple act could create something so extraordinary. He felt the echo of each note in his chest, the invisible connection between Amara's voice, the prayers whispered under her breath, and the courage that had sprung to life in his daughter's legs. Could faith and love really be stronger than despair and years of failed therapy? The twins wobbled closer, gripping Amara's hands, their eyes wide with trust and innocence. She whispered encouragement softly, guiding them, cheering them with gentle words. Noah's knees pressed into the polished floor as he watched, his hands trembling as he tried to grasp what he was witnessing. The air felt alive, electric with something far greater than human understanding, a force that had quietly moved through the room and lifted the impossible into reality. "I heard them call," Amara continued, her voice breaking with emotion. "They said, 'Mama,' and when I turned around, they were standing. I thought I was imagining it, but they were holding onto the wall, trembling, trying to balance, and then they started walking toward me." Her words fell into the room like a soft prayer, and Noah's lips trembled as tears blurred his vision. For the first time in years, Noah did not feel the familiar ache of helplessness. Instead, he felt awe, gratitude, and a fragile sense of wonder. Every question he had, every doubt that had gnawed at him, seemed to dissolve in the quiet, miraculous light of this moment. Amara took a deep breath, still kneeling with Lily and Leia clinging gently to her sides. Her voice trembled as she spoke, eyes fixed on the twins and then lifting toward Noah, searching for understanding. "Sir, I was just singing," she whispered, almost in disbelief herself. "It was a worship song my mother used to sing when things felt impossible. I didn't even realize I was singing out loud." Noah blinked, his mind racing. He had expected explanations rooted in medicine, therapy, or human effort, but this was something else entirely. Could a simple song really hold so much power? He wondered silently, heart pounding, tears still wet on his cheeks. He watched the girls, standing upright, moving steadily, their laughter and small words filling the room like sunlight through the windows. Amara's voice softened further, a gentle melody under her words. "I didn't plan it, I just felt their need, their longing for their mama, and I sang. I prayed quietly, asking only that God give them strength." She shook her head in disbelief, as if she herself could not fully comprehend the miracle that had unfolded before her. And it worked. Somehow it worked. Noah sank into the nearest chair, chest heaving, his hands pressed against his face. The years of investment, specialists, machines, treatments that had cost millions, suddenly felt small in the face of this quiet, unassuming act. He realized how blind he had been, relying on science and money to heal wounds that only devotion and love could reach. We spent so much, and yet the answer was here in this song, this moment, he thought, a mix of humility and awe flooding him. The room seemed suspended in stillness. Even the sunlight felt sacred, falling gently across the three figures in the center of the living room. Noah's heart swelled with a gratitude so deep it almost hurt. The house, which had once felt like a monument to loss, now felt alive with possibility, hope, and the quiet presence of something divine. Amara's eyes glistened as she looked at him. "Faith is not always loud, sir. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it begins in a simple song, in a willing heart. And sometimes that is enough to do the impossible." Her words, soft and sincere, hung in the air like a blessing, wrapping around Noah and the twins, around the home that had been heavy with sorrow for far too long. Noah nodded slowly, tears slipping down his face once more. He understood finally that healing was never just in the body, it was in the heart, in love, in trust, in belief. The song, the prayer, the devotion. These had reached places no therapy could touch, no money could reach. Weeks passed, and with them came a quiet transformation. The mansion, once echoing with suspicion and sorrow, now hummed with life and laughter. Noah walked through the hallways, noticing the small changes first. Toys scattered across the floor, cushions slightly askew, and the gentle hum of voices that were no longer filled with fear. The walls seemed warmer, lighter, as if the house itself had begun to breathe again. Lily and Leia moved with confidence now, their steps steadier, their laughter ringing clear and bright. Each day brought small victories. A dance in the living room, a game of catch in the garden, the simple joy of running through sunlight streaming across the marble floors. Noah watched them and felt something he hadn't felt in years: relief, awe, and an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Could this really be real? He thought, shaking his head at how swiftly hope had returned to their home. Amara was no longer just a caregiver. She had become Auntie Amara to the twins, their companion in play, their comfort at night, and their safe place during moments of doubt or fear. The girls refused to go to bed without hugging her goodnight, their little hands braiding her hair as she sang soft songs to them. Noah observed from the doorway, chest tight with emotion, realizing that the bond she had built with his daughters was far beyond anything he had imagined. Noah's own heart softened as well. He no longer felt the need to check the security cameras every hour, no longer anticipated betrayal at every corner. Trust, once so fragile and easily broken, had been restored not by money, by rules, or by control, but by the patience, love, and faith of one willing heart. He joined the girls and Amara in the kitchen, laughing with them as they prepared snacks, feeling for the first time that his family was truly whole again. The house itself reflected this change. The heaviness that had once clung to every hallway, every corner, had lifted. Sunlight bounced off the walls freely, filling every space with warmth. The wheelchairs that had once dominated the living room were now folded neatly, reminders not of limitation but of the journey they had overcome. Noah touched them lightly, a smile breaking across his face, understanding that love and faith had accomplished what years of worry and resources could not. He watched Amara lift the girls into her arms, and a quiet tear slipped down his cheek. This is what it feels like to truly trust again, he thought, letting the warmth of the moment fill him completely. The laughter of the twins, the gentle guidance of Amara, and the sense of hope that had returned to the mansion blended together into a harmony he had almost forgotten existed. The living room was quiet, yet it held a sacred energy, the kind that comes only from love and remembrance. Sunlight filtered softly through the curtains, illuminating the family gathered together. The twins standing close to Noah, Amara kneeling beside them, hands folded in prayer. Today marked the anniversary of the boat accident, a day that had once brought nothing but grief, yet now held a new meaning. The air was heavy with reflection, yet lighter than it had ever been, as if the house itself had learned to breathe again. Noah's eyes swept over Lily and Leah, their small hands folded in innocence, their faces calm and bright. He remembered the fear that had once gripped him, the long months of therapy, the countless moments of doubt and heartbreak. And now, looking at them standing strong and laughing softly with Amara, he realized how far they had come. Could it be that miracles were never about grandeur, but about moments like these? He thought, a warmth spreading through his chest. Amara whispered softly, guiding the twins' voices as they recited a short prayer together. Her presence was steady and comforting, a reminder that love and faith often move in ways unseen. Noah knelt beside them, joining hands, feeling the quiet strength of the family unity that had been rebuilt from fragments of sorrow. Each word spoken, each whisper of gratitude, carried more weight than any material possession ever could. The memory of his late wife surfaced in his mind, her smile, her courage in the midst of the storm, the way she had wrapped her body around the twins to protect them. Noah felt her presence in that room, in the laughter, in the stillness, and in the hearts of those around him. The miracle that had unfolded was no longer just about walking. It was about love that endured, protection that persisted, and faith that never wavered. The family remained in silence for a moment, hands clasped tightly, hearts open, connected not only to one another, but to the quiet power that had guided them through despair to hope. Noah's lips moved in a soft whisper, a prayer of thanks he had never spoken aloud before. I finally understand. Some answers cannot be measured by science, money, or effort alone, he thought, all mingling with gratitude. As they opened their eyes and smiled at one another, the house seemed to glow with life, laughter spilling softly into the corners, a testament to resilience, faith, and love. The anniversary that once marked tragedy had become a celebration of hope, of small, quiet miracles that had transformed their lives in ways no one could have predicted. Moral: sometimes the greatest miracles are the quiet ones, growing in faith, love, and the hearts that believe.